Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, welcome back to your biology online class. Let's continue with ecosystem. But before starting something new, let's revise what we had done in the previous lecture. What is environment? That is the plants and animals, or the living and non-living things in a place are considered under environment, or they constitute the environment of that particular place. So everything that surrounds and affects the life of an organism is called environment, or in simple terms you can say the surroundings, that is air, water, plants and animals. And each kind of environment has many different kinds of animal habitat. So a living organism lives in close interaction with its environment. So we will study, we had studied in detail the ecosystem and its components in the last lecture. So what is an ecosystem? That is, an ecosystem is a unit in which different living organisms interact with the physical environment. That is, in which a community lives, with interaction taking place among the organism between the community and its non-living physical environment. That is, we are living and we are interacting with the non-living. Like, you consider ourselves, what are the non-living components around us? The temperature, the air, then the type of soil, then the light component, then we have water. These are the non-living environment components of the ecosystem. And the living components are considered the plants and the various animals around us, how we are interacting with them, how we are living together with them. So it is formed by the interaction between all living and non-living things. And this the term in ecosystem was coined by Sir Arthur Tansley in 1935. Ecosystem has two components, that is biotic and abiotic. So the components I told you are biotic and abiotic. That is, the biotic components include all the living organisms and are called as the biotic components, which include or which can be classified or divided on the basis of how living organisms get their food, how these organisms that get their food, that is the producers, the autotrophs, that is the organisms that make their own food, are called producers or autotrophs. And we have the consumers, and in the consumers we have the primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary consumers. That is, primary consumer include the herbivorous animals that eat only green plants or plant products, are called primary consumers, like rabbit, horses, goats, etc. And secondary consumers include animals that eat only the flesh of other animals, and they are called secondary consumers. We have lizards, snakes and frogs under this category. Then tertiary consumers are the top carnivores, that is, they eat secondary consumers and they are not eaten by other animals. Examples are lions, tigers and leopards. Then we have the quaternary consumers, or we have the decomposers. And quaternary consumers we can include the scavengers, that is, animals that eat dead animals are called scavengers. Example, vultures, hyenas, these are all the scavengers. Then the decomposers are those organisms that decompose, or they are the microorganisms that decompose, that is, convert the complex substances into the simple ones so that they can be recycled in the environment, so and clear the earth of all the dead bodies. So they decompose dead remains of plants and animals to get their food. Examples are various bacteria and fungi. Then we were studying about the abiotic component, and I had told you about that is the non-living component, that is the climatic factors and their effect factors. And I had completed the two of the abiotic factors, that is light and temperature, where light as a abiotic component. The sun is the major source of light on earth, and it is the source of energy that is contributing to the, or that is being taken up by the plants and being used for the process of photosynthesis, and these plants in turn are eaten up by other animals and human beings. Then temperature, that is the temperature at a place varies from day to night, and it varies between seasons also. So but the most comfortable temperature that the most organism can survive is 20 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. Then we'll proceed further today, considering I will teach you today the other abiotic factors or abiotic components of the ecosystem, that is water, soil and air. So we know that air is a mixture of gases, and all these gases are important for the existence of life. If any of these gases perish from the earth, then of course the survival of the living organisms will be threatened, and the living organisms will not be able to survive. So all living organisms use oxygen, for respiration, and this oxygen is present where? It is present in the air. And also, what is the other source of oxygen? The plants give out oxygen as a product of photosynthesis. So this remains in the air, and it is consumed, or it is taken up or inhaled by the animals and human beings for respiration. Then nitrogen is another gas which is present in the air, and this is the amount. This gas is 78%. That is the composition. If you compare to the 78% of nitrogen is present in the air, and this is made available to the plants by certain bacteria through the action of lightning, and also it is present, it is converted into a form which can be absorbed by the plants, that is in the form of nitrates. That is, the atmospheric nitrogen is converted into nitrates and made in a form which can be taken up by the plants, absorbed by the roots of the plant and become a part of the plant, because nitrogen helps in the synthesis of certain substances in the plant which help in the growth and development of the plant. So nitrogen is converted into nitrates by certain microorganisms in the soil, and then these nitrates are taken up by the plants. Then the wind or air also helps in regulating the temperature on earth. This is another thing that is controlled by the air, that is the temperature of the earth. You can experience that what is happening is that when there is no wind or the air is still, then you feel hotter, like particularly during the summer seasons. But if there is a pleasant wind blowing, then the impact that it gives is absolutely different. Apart from this, it also serves as a medium of flight for birds and insects. So birds and insects can fly from one place to another through air only. Then what is the role of wind basically? So wind helps in the dispersal of pollen grains. I have told you in the plant reproduction what is dispersal, that is the scattering of the seeds in air away from the parent plant, and this is possible through the wind only. So many plants use wind passively to disperse seeds over relatively long distances. So it can be defined as the movement of individuals away from others of the same species when we are talking about the plants. It also helps in the dispersal of seeds like madar and hiptage. These are the seeds which have adaptation to be carried or dispersed by air. They have tuft of air, or they have wing-like scaly leaves that they can be easily carried by away from the parent plant. so where they can settle down somewhere where they get proper or suitable conditions, they will germinate into a new plant. So strong winds can also destroy things in many places, so this is a disadvantage also. And strong winds in the form of various typhoons and cyclones are there, then they can destroy a lot of property, and they can they are life threatening also. Then soil is another abiotic component, and as geography students you all know that how has soil been formed. It has been formed by the abiotic factors, or it is a product of abiotic forces such as ice, rain and wind, and the action of living things such as microorganism, plant and earthworms on the rocks and minerals of earth's crust. So the structure and the chemical makeup of the soil, that what type of soil, various types of soil also you have studied, red soil, black soil, then laterite, then certain soils are acidic, certain soil are basic, so that determine the type of plant that will grow in that particular area. So in aquatic environments also, the characteristic of the underlying sand or rock effect, that is whatever is present, whichever type of soil is present on in the seabed or on the or rock, whatever rock is present at the bottom of the sea or river, that also defines that what plants and algae can grow over there. So soil also affects the life of other organisms as well. So plants cannot survive without soil, they cannot grow without soil, and they get water and minerals from the soil that are needed for their growth, so that plants absorb all the water and minerals that are needed from them, needed for their growth or development from the soil only. And soil also provides air to the roots of the plant, that is whatever oxygen that is needed by the plant is provided through the soil only. And soil gives shelter to animals like worms, insects, rodents and microorganisms, various kinds of worms that are there, earthworms or centipedes, etc. Insects, you all know various types of insects that are there, that is the centipede is an insect, then earthworm is there, then you have the pinworm, these are all present in the soil. Rodents, various types of rodents, small animals like various type of mouse or rabbits, etc. they are rodents, and microorganisms, various kind of bacteria, a protozoan, etc. these are included under the microorganism. So they give shelter, soil gives shelter to animals also. Then next abiotic factor is water. So all living organisms need water to live, and without water no life can exist on earth. So we know that all plants need water for making their food. So one of the conditions which are needed for germination, that is growth of a seedling or from a seed, is water also. So plants need water for making their food, that is the process of photosynthesis will not take place if water is not present. They also need water for the germination of seed, I have told you just now, and transport of prepared food from the leaves and all the other parts. I had explained this process to you, that how the food is transported or how water is transported in the various parts of the plant, that through xylem and phloem, by the process of translocation, how the food is transported to the various parts of the plant, that is in solution form only, and that won't be possible if water is not present. Animals need water to carry out their various activities such as distributing food particles through the bodies, that is and digesting the food, and also for the process of excretion, that is the process of getting rid of the waste from the body, that for that also water is very important. And besides that, aquatic life cannot exist without water, that is various kinds of plants and animals that are present on this earth, they will not be able to survive without water. Now let's proceed on to the interaction between biotic and abiotic components, how they act together, how are they dependent on each other. That is, the various biotic and abiotic components interact with each other, and there is a system, you can see there is a system which is based on give and take between them. You can see the arrows in all the directions. There is a give and take system that is existing between them. The abiotic components are doing what? They are providing nutrients to the producers. That is, how are nutrients being provided to the plants, or how is it manufacturing the nutrients is by the process of photosynthesis. And how is this photosynthesis taking place? It is taking place with the help of solar energy, presence of chlorophyll in the leaves, and of course presence of water, that is water and carbon dioxide. They act together when chlorophyll and solar energy or sunlight is present, and they give the oxygen to the environment. So nutrients that are present in the plants, that is various types of plants that we are consuming in the form of fruits and vegetables, they are loaded with various nutrients, and abiotic factors are helping them in doing so. Is it clear? So the producers make food for the consumers. Which are the various consumers? You can see this rabbit, then here the meat eating animals, etc. And when producers and consumers die, they are decomposed. They are decomposed with the help of decomposers, that is the various fungi and bacteria, and they are recycled back into the environment. So when all of these die, whether it is the plants or the grass eating animals or the meat eating animals, they are acted upon by the decomposers, and the decomposers convert them into a form which is again recycled back into the environment. Is that clear? So this is what is happening, that these nutrients are again taken up by the producers from the soil. They are returned back to the soil, and they again recycled back to the plants when they are being absorbed by the roots of the plant. Thus no organism can live independently. We cannot say that plants can independently survive on earth, or the animals including human beings can survive on the earth without depending on one another. So because of this interaction only, a balance is maintained in nature. A balance is maintained, that the plants are giving out oxygen which is being taken up by the animals and human beings again. When the humans and what are the animals doing? They are giving out carbon dioxide, human beings and animals, which is being in turn taken up by the plants for the process of photosynthesis. So the plants as well as animals are dependent on each other, and because of this dependence there is a balance which is maintained, and this balance gets disturbed when we are cutting down the trees. So we should educate people regarding this particular thing, that how the balance or the stability of the ecosystem be maintained. Then the types of ecosystem. Types of ecosystem, we have the natural ecosystem. The basic categories are natural, and the artificial or man-made ecosystems. Is that clear? So a natural ecosystem occurs on its own, that is naturally. It has been formed through nature, and human beings do not interfere. They do not operate this natural ecosystem, or it operates on its own through nature only, and there is no interference of humans in the operation of this type of ecosystem. And when human interference is done, then the effects that are seen are of course dangerous. Is it clear? Because if you can see the various areas are having landslides just because of the human interference and cutting down of trees, that is resulting in the soil erosion, and that soil erosion is one of the factors which is a major contributor of the landslides. So it could be terrestrial or aquatic. This you can see, it could be terrestrial or aquatic. That is, terrestrial includes what? The grasslands, or it can include the forest and the desert. These are the three types of the terrestrial ecosystems. And the aquatic ecosystem takes into account what type of water is there, whether it is the sea water, which is fresh water, or salt water. So this, it is pond, lake or river. So this you can see, this is the marine ecosystem, this is the freshwater ecosystem. That is, marine includes the sea water, which is salty, and lakes have the fresh water. So these are the two types of aquatic ecosystem. Then we have the artificial or the man-made ecosystem, which includes the ecosystems which have been created by man. For example, of a very simple example is aquarium. That is the tank which we keep the fish in, and then crop fields and the lawn, the gardens that we are maintaining at home. So these include the type. So these are the types of ecosystem, various types of ecosystem around us. So this is the pond ecosystem. So that includes all the plants and animals that live in water or live in a pond, along with the abiotic components like air, water and soil. So these are the various abiotic factors that are present or that operate the functioning of the pond ecosystem, which includes the light, the amount of light that is reaching, then what type of water it is, the minerals that are dissolved in it, what is the temperature of water. These are all included under the abiotic factors present in the soil, type of soil that is present inside on the bottom of the pond. So aquatic plants prepare dissolved carbon dioxide and whatever dissolved carbon dioxide is there in the water, on water, that helps the plants to prepare their food, and as a result they release oxygen, which is used by the aquatic organisms, that is the various fishes and other organisms that are living in it. So aquatic animals use this oxygen in respiration. So some small animals eat plants directly. They are called as herbivorous, or they are herbivores. Small animals that are present, they eat the plants. So which includes what? Basically the smaller animals which are around the pond, which can include the various rodents and all. The large animals like fish and frogs, that is the carnivores, eat small fish and insects. Then after that, the bodies of plants and animals are decomposed by microorganisms and again absorbed by plants and as nutrients. So this is what is given in this ecosystem, and how each and every all the biotic and abiotic factors are interdependent on each other, and how the plants and animals are interdependent on each other. This is shown in the form of a food web, food chain and food web, which we will discuss later in this chapter. Now this is the picture of an artificial ecosystem, that is the aquarium. So what are the abiotic factors that are there? That is the light that is present, water and air inside the aquarium, that includes the abiotic factors, and the plant and fishes that are present in this aquarium, they are the biotic factors. Is it clear? This is an artificial example of artificial ecosystem. Let's discuss the exercise on page number 44. Tick the correct answer. Unit in which different living organisms interact with the physical environment is called the ecosystem. Is it clear? Who coined the term ecosystem? A. Tansley. Which of the following is not a terrestrial ecosystem, that is land ecosystem? Grassland, desert, forest. Yes, it is pond. Which of the following is not a naturally aquatic ecosystem? It is aquarium, which I have told you just now. The lake, river and sea are included under the natural aquatic ecosystem. Which of the following is not an artificial ecosystem? Yes, aquarium, lake, crop field and garden. It is the crop field. No, this is wrong. It is the lake. Then circle the odd one and name the category to which the other three belong. Plants, cow, horse and soil. Yes, what are the plants, cow and horse? They all are the biotic component, and soil is the abiotic component. Then horse, tiger, goat and rabbit. So horse, goat and rabbit are the primary consumers, while which one? Tiger is the tertiary consumer. So it is the tiger. We circle it properly. Then lion, green plants, rabbit and leopard. So green plants are producers, rest of the three are consumers. Then temperature, air, lizard and light. Temperature, air and light are abiotic factor and lizard is a biotic factor. Green plants are, yes, consumers or producers. They are producers. Organisms that cannot make their own food but depend on food prepared by green plants are called consumers or decomposers. It is consumers. Bacteria and fungi are decomposers or producers. They are decomposers. Then plant get water and minerals from, yes, from the soil. Green plants use dash for making food. They use, yes, carbon dioxide for making the food. Now please revise the chapter as much as we have completed today, and Allah Hafiz.